Everyone knows Bad Chad Customs, the wild-haired genius who turns rust into gold, the man who built a Bugatti from junkyard scraps. Chad Hiltz became a household name, a Discovery Channel star, an automotive legend. But here's what they don't tell you. Behind every viral video, every million-dollar deal, every impossible build that made Chad famous, there's someone else calling the shots. Someone who transformed a broke mechanic working out of a junkyard into an international brand worth millions. The real mastermind behind Bad Chad Customs isn't who you think, and once you know the truth, you'll never see the show the same way again. Before 2016, Chad Hiltz wasn't a star. He was barely surviving. Working since he was 16 years old, taking whatever jobs he could find, Chad had spent decades trying to make his dream work. His shop, Green Goblin Customs, operated out of a literal junkyard in Canning, Nova Scotia. Sure, he had talent. He'd built award-winning cars that turned heads at shows, but talent doesn't pay the bills when you're trapped in a cycle of poverty. Chad could only afford to take on 1 or 2 clients at a time, working with whatever scraps he could find in the yard. The money he made went right back into keeping the lights on. This wasn't some romantic underdog story. This was a man watching his dreams slowly die. He'd pour his heart into builds that nobody outside his small town would ever see. No social media presence, no marketing strategy, no business plan. Just a gifted builder stuck in obscurity, working himself into the ground for pennies. His father had started the junkyard, and Chad was continuing the legacy, but barely. Every day was a struggle to find the next client, the next paycheck, the next reason to keep going. Then, one day in 2016, Chad walked into a tavern in New Minas to hang a poster for a local car show. He had no idea that the woman he was about to meet would change absolutely everything. But that wasn't the whole story. Jolene McIntyre wasn't looking for a project when she met Chad. She was working as a waitress at that tavern, serving drinks and trying to figure out her next move after graduating with a bachelor's degree in commerce and finance. She'd been a soccer star, pursued kinesiology, worked as a golf resort supervisor, done everything right. But like so many graduates, she was stuck in survival mode, taking whatever jobs paid the rent. Chad walked in with his poster, and Jolene noticed his Green Goblin car parked outside. Most people would have been impressed. Jolene wasn't. She approached him, asked questions, sized him up. Chad was immediately interested. He asked her out. She said no. He tried again. She said no. For 6 solid months, Chad pursued her while Jolene watched from a distance, studying him. Not the man, the opportunity. Because here's what Chad didn't realize. Jolene had the exact skill set his failing business desperately needed. She understood finance, marketing, brand development, strategic growth. She saw something everyone else missed. Chad Hiltz wasn't just a talented mechanic. He was a once-in-a-generation builder with a personality that could captivate millions. The problem wasn't his talent. The problem was that nobody knew he existed. When Jolene finally agreed to coffee, it wasn't romance she was thinking about. It was business. She looked at Green Goblin Customs and saw wasted potential. A brilliant artist trapped in poverty because he had zero business sense. And Jolene McIntyre had a degree that could fix that. What happened next would shock everyone. Jolene didn't just start dating Chad, she started running his entire operation. Within months of their relationship beginning, she'd taken control of everything that wasn't building cars. Finances, Jolene. Scheduling, Jolene. Client communications, Jolene. Budgets, logistics, day-to-day operations, all Jolene. Chad himself would later admit to Discovery Channel producers, "She's smarter than I am. I can build a car, but she handles everything else." But here's where it gets interesting. Jolene wasn't content with just organizing a small-town shop. She had bigger plans, way bigger. She looked at Chad's work and made a calculated decision that would change both their lives forever. In her own words, "I decided to build a business and a brand around him. Not with him, around him." Chad was the product. Jolene was the CEO. This wasn't a partnership of equals. This was a strategic business move. Chad had spent 20 years building incredible cars that nobody saw. Jolene understood something fundamental about modern success. Talent means nothing without exposure. Skill means nothing without an audience. Chad could build a Bugatti from scrap metal, but if it stayed in a Nova Scotia junkyard, it was worthless. Jolene knew the game had changed. Social media was everything. Viral content was currency, and Chad Hiltz, with his wild personality and impossible builds, was sitting on a gold mine. She just needed to get the world to notice, and she had a plan that was absolutely genius. But the execution would be even more brilliant. Chad made Jolene an offer. He'd build her any car she wanted. Most women might have chosen something pretty, something practical. Jolene chose Ralph Lauren's $40 million Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic, one of the rarest, most expensive cars ever created. Chad thought she just wanted something impressive. He had no idea what she was really planning. Jolene didn't just want the car, she wanted content. While Chad worked on the build, Jolene documented everything, every step, every struggle, every breakthrough. She filmed it, edited it, and posted strategic content across Facebook and social media platforms. This wasn't random. This was calculated. She knew exactly what she was doing, creating a narrative, building anticipation, showing the world what Chad could do. The Bugatti build went absolutely viral. Millions of views, thousands of shares, comments flooding in from around the world. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. A guy in a Canadian junkyard building a $40 million masterpiece from scraps and raw talent. The story was perfect, the visuals were stunning, and Jolene's content strategy was working exactly as planned. Then the call came. Discovery Channel producers had found Chad's work, not through industry connections, not through car shows or magazines, through Jolene's videos. They wanted to meet. They wanted to talk about a show. And just like that, everything Jolene had planned was falling into place. But landing the meeting was just the beginning. Now she had to close the deal. Jolene negotiated the entire Discovery Channel contract. Chad showed up, built cars, and told stories. Jolene handled everything else: the terms, the conditions, the creative control. Bad Chad Customs launched in 2019, and suddenly an unknown mechanic from Nova Scotia was an international television star. But here's what most fans don't know: the show almost didn't happen. Green Goblin Customs had licensing problems. The name was too close to existing trademarks. Discovery's legal team flagged it immediately. Chad would have panicked. Jolene solved it. She rebranded the entire company overnight. Green Goblin Customs became Hiltz Auto Co. New name, new branding, new legal structure. Problem handled. Show greenlit. And that rebrand revealed everything about who actually controlled the business. Because changing a company name isn't just paperwork. It's rebranding every piece of marketing, every social media account, every client contract. It requires business expertise that Chad simply didn't have. Jolene did. She managed the entire transition while Chad kept building cars, completely unaware of the legal nightmare she'd just navigated. The show exploded. Fans around the world fell in love with Chad's personality and impossible builds. But behind every episode, Jolene was managing production schedules, handling Discovery's demands, coordinating client builds, and running the actual business that kept everything afloat. Discovery even started calling her the brains of the operation, not as an insult to Chad, as a statement of fact. He built cars, she built an empire. And what came next proved just how much control she really had. Here's something fans don't realize. Discovery Channel funded all the TV builds. Sounds great, right? Free money to build dream cars. Except there's a catch. Discovery owned those cars. Every single vehicle Chad built on camera belonged to the network, not to him. So how did Bad Chad Customs actually make money? Jolene. She structured a system where Chad would buy back the cars from Discovery after filming, then sell them for profit through Hiltz Auto Co. This required serious financial management, budgets, negotiations, payment schedules. Chad had no idea how any of it worked. Jolene handled every single transaction. She controlled when money came in, where it went, how much they could spend. Chad built. Jolene managed every dollar. Then came 2020. The pandemic shut down production. Most reality shows collapsed. Bad Chad Customs could have died right there. But Jolene had already seen it coming. She'd been building their online presence for years: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. While other shows scrambled to figure out digital content, Jolene had already positioned them perfectly. She shifted focus from client builds to online content creation. Merchandise, exclusive behind-the-scenes footage, fan engagement. The result? Their YouTube channel exploded, becoming one of the top 100 channels for subscriber growth, hundreds of thousands of followers across platforms, revenue streams that didn't depend on Discovery Channel. Chad kept building, Jolene kept expanding, and the business she'd built around him just kept growing, pandemic or not. But the real power dynamic was even more revealing. Let's be absolutely clear about who runs Bad Chad Customs. Chad Hiltz builds cars. That's it. That's his entire job. Everything else, and that means everything, is Jolene McIntyre. She controls the social media that made him famous. She manages the finances that keep the business running. She handles the marketing that brings in clients. She negotiates the deals that fund the builds. She coordinates the production schedules that make the show possible. Discovery Channel doesn't call Chad when they need to discuss business. They call Jolene. Sponsors don't negotiate with Chad, they negotiate with Jolene. Client contracts aren't signed by Chad, they're signed by Jolene. She is the CEO, CFO, CMO, and COO all rolled into one. Chad is the talent, the face, the personality. But faces don't run empires. Business minds do. And here's the most telling part. Chad openly admits it. He's never tried to hide it. In every interview, he credits Jolene with the success. He knows exactly what she did for him. Took a broke mechanic drowning in a junkyard and turned him into a millionaire television star with an international brand. That doesn't happen by accident. That doesn't happen because someone's good at building cars. That happens because someone brilliant saw potential and executed a perfect strategy. Bad Chad Customs exists because Jolene McIntyre decided it should exist. The show, the brand, the empire. All her. Chad's the artist, but every successful artist needs someone who understands the business, and Jolene McIntyre is a master. So, here's the truth. Chad Hiltz would still be in that junkyard, broke and unknown, if Jolene McIntyre hadn't walked into his life. She didn't just support his dream. She built an entire business infrastructure around his talent, negotiated the deals that made him famous, and created the brand that turned Bad Chad Customs into a household name. The genius car builder needed a business genius to make it work. And without her strategic vision, financial management, and relentless execution, none of this exists. The real boss of Bad Chad Customs? It's always been Jolene, and now you know the truth.